Florida, it's your turn, and here's your challenge. If you want to pass the notary exam on the first try, you've come to the only channel that's dedicated to helping you do it, okay? And here's your challenge. To take this test, this challenge, do the whole thing. Whether you pass it or not, that's okay. Listen in for the whole time. 30 questions of what I'm going to deliver. The 30 questions that will probably be very close to, if not on the actual test. If you don't get it, don't understand, you're early in your journey, listen to it over and over so it sinks in. So you pass on the first try, or you be like these people that I'm going to shout out that passed on the first try. My name is Sean. Welcome to the channel. Waste no time. Let's go, Florida. You got this, okay? The first question, then the answer. Maybe a little explanation. Then the next question, then the answer. I'm going to make sure it sinks in so you can pass this test. Here we go. Florida Notary Public Practice. 1. What is the main purpose of a Florida Notary Public? Is it A, to issue marriage license? Is it B, to witness signatures and verify identities? Is it C, to authenticate court documents? What is the main purpose of a Florida Notary Public? That's a layup. That's yours. It's B, to witness signatures and verify identities. That's the main thing of a notary public. You're not doing legal stuff. You're making sure that you've taken care of that business. 2, which of the following documents can a notary public in Florida publicly notarize? Again, which of the following documents can a Florida notary public notarize? That's better. A, birth certificates. B, can you notarize wills? C, can you notarize acknowledgments, oaths, and affirmations? The answer is C. You can notarize acknowledgments, oaths, and affirmations, not birth certificates, not wills. Number 3, in Florida, who is responsible for keeping the notary's journal of notarial acts? Who's responsible for keeping it? Is it A, the Florida Department of State? Is it B, the notary public? Or is it C, the county clerk's office? This is important. This is important because how you store and hold on to that notary journal is crucial to your career, okay? The answer is B, the notary public is responsible for keeping the notary's journal of notarial acts. All right, Florida, we're on number 4. Florida, how long must a Florida notary maintain their journal of notarial acts? Let's get that language good, okay? Notarial acts. You're going to be a notary and you will be doing what? Notarial acts. How long must you maintain your journal? 5 years? Is it B, 10 years? Is it C, the notary is not required to keep a journal at all? The answer is A, 5 years. They must maintain their journal of notarial acts for 5 years. 5 is the magic number. Number 5, Florida. What should a Florida notary do if a journal is lost or stolen? What you may have to do may be different what I have to do in California. That's why we're doing this. By the way, shout out to Teresa Santiago who asked for this Florida test. Shout out to you, Teresa. Good luck. Pass on the first try. What should a Florida notary do if a journal is lost or stolen? A, continue performing notarial acts without concern. B, report the loss to local law enforcement and the Department of State. C, nothing. The journal is not a required record. The best answer is B, report the loss to local law enforcement and the Department of State. That's important. That's probably in your notary handbook book, which I will leave the link in the description, and this test will be in the description. Remember, you have to report it if it's lost. This is an official document. This is an official piece of equipment, okay? 6, what is the maximum fee a notary can charge for performing a notarial act? Your maximum fee may be different than mine. In Florida, the maximum fee, is it $5? Is it $10? Or is it $25? And basically that's saying how much you can charge per signature. Okay. So let's say you're doing a loan signing and that thing's going to take 10 signatures, you're getting paid for every signature. The answer is B. You can charge $10 per signature. That's why you see things that say, oh, I worked for an hour because I got 10 signatures and made $100, right? All right. Number 7, Florida. A Florida notary may not notarize a document if what? If A, the signer is not personally known to the notary. If B, the signer refuses to provide identification. If C, the notary is a party to the transaction. That's a tricky one. The Florida notary may not notarize the document if the signer is not personally known to the notary, or B, the signer refuses to provide identification, or C, the notary is part of the transaction. The answer is C, the notary is part of the transaction. That's the best answer. And I'll explain that. That's the best answer because if you're part of the transaction, there could be a conflict of interest, right? So you're not supposed to do the notarization if you're part of this transaction conflicting interest. Now, what about B? That one sounds good too. So that was tricky. The signer refuses to provide identification. Well, if they don't provide identification, there are other ways in Florida for the signer to identify themselves. You need to learn what those other ways are. So it's not only that. Okay. 8, which of the following actions is prohibited for a Florida notary public? 1, is it administering an oath? 2, is it witnessing signatures? Or is it certifying true copies of documents? The answer is C. Certifying true copies of documents is prohibited. Okay. Yes, you are doing administering oath. You are doing witnessing signatures. That's part of your job, or part of your business, that is. 9, how must a Florida notary verify the identity of a signer? That's what we were just talking about. A, by personal knowledge. B, by an oath taken by the signer. Or C, by comparing the signature with a copy of a valid ID. The answer is by personal knowledge or valid ID. By personal knowledge or valid ID. All right. Now that came on the test. In California, it's different. In California, you were supposed to compare the signature with a copy of a valid ID. So you might want to double check that for Florida. Okay. 10, in which of the following situations can a notary public refuse to perform a notarial act? When can you refuse to take the notarial act? A, when a signer refuses to pay the notary fee. B, when the notary does not understand the document. Or C, when the signer appears mentally incapacitated. The best answer, that's a tricky one. The best answer is C, if the signer appears mentally incapacitated, because your client, the signer, is supposed to be within their right mind and under, not signing it under duress, not signing it if they're intoxicated, not signing it if they're mentally incapacitated. So the best answer there is C. Now B, if it's something the notary that you don't understand, it has nothing to do with you understanding. You're supposed to identify who this person is, make sure the signatures are legitimate, right? That's your job. 11, what must be included in a Florida notary's certificate of acknowledgement? What must be included in a Florida notary's certificate of acknowledgement? Is it A, the notary's full name and commission number? Is it B, the identity of the signer and date of the notarial act? Or is it C, the notary's signature and title? The best answer is the identity of the signer and the date of the notarial act. That's supposed to be included in your certificate of acknowledgement. Number 12, can a notary public in Florida notarize a document in which they are party to the transaction? We talked about that. Can a notary public in Florida notarize a document in which they are party to the transaction? A, yes. as long as they're neutral. B, no, notaries must avoid conflicts of interest. Or C, yes, as long as they are impartial. That sounds fair, right? The best answer is, for Florida, is no. Notaries must avoid conflicts of interest. I mentioned that earlier, right? And by the way, this is sponsored by Buy Me a Cup of Coffee. In the link, I'm going to leave something if you feel it in your heart to donate to buy Mr. Rogers a cup of coffee, because I do these for free out of my heart to help you pass the test. I'm not being paid for it. I'm not even monetized. So if you want to click that link and buy me a cup of coffee, that would be beautiful. All right. Number 13, a Florida notary must refuse to perform a notarial act is, here's another one, must refuse. Not can refuse, must refuse. They will try to trick you. If the notarial, to perform a notarial act, if the signer is not fluent in English, must refuse if the signer does not understand the contents of the document, must refuse if the signer appears nervous. All right, the best answer is the signer does not understand the contents of the document. Now, let's compare that to the one earlier when we said the notary does not understand the contents of the document. That wasn't the right answer before, but in this case, the signer doesn't understand the contents of the document. You must refuse because it may be trickery. 14, which of the following statements is true about Florida notary seals? Which of the following statements is true about Florida notary seals? Okay, is it A, the notary seals must include the state, the county, and the commission number. The notary seals must be the size of a postage stamp. The notary seal is optional in Florida. Which statement is true? The answer is A. The notary seal must include what? Say it with me. The state, the county, and the commission number. The notary seal must include the state, the county, and the commission number. That's going to be in your head. If you see that in the test, you're going to get it. All right, number 15, almost halfway done. How should a Florida notary handle a document that is not in English? Good question. We're an international world, huh? How do you handle it if it's not in English? A, refuse to notarize the document. B, use an interpreter to help explain the document to the signer. C, notarize the document without any explanation. The best answer for you Florida folks is B, use an interpreter to help explain the document to the signer. All right, number 16. If a notary in Florida is convicted of a crime, they must, this might be a good one. If a notary in Florida is convicted of a crime, they must automatically lose their notary commission, notify the Department of State within 30 days of the commission, or notify the court but not the Department of State. What happens? Drum roll. The answer is B, notify the Department of State within 30 days of the conviction. It's like that out here in California. Everything, we have to notify them. Or you'll lose your license, right? 17, what is required for a Florida notary to take an oath or affirmation for someone? What is required for a Florida notary to take an oath or an affirmation for someone? A, the signer must be under oath, the signer. B, the notary must take a similar oath. Or C, the notary must have the signer appear before them in person. Which one is required? The best answer is C for Florida. The notary must have the signer appear before them in person to take this oath. Remember that. 18. Which document requires a Florida notary to administer an oath or affirmation? Which document? Is it A, the real estate deed or a real estate deed? Is it B, a sworn affidavit? Or is it C, a marriage certificate? Here was the question. Which document requires a Florida notary to administer an oath or affirmation? The best answer is B, sworn affidavit. The sworn affidavit requires a Florida notary to administer an oath or an affirmation. All right. How are you doing so far? Hang in there. You're almost at the end. And listen, I got to give a shout out to some people who passed the test on the first try or who are about to pass it. And if you pass on the first try, I'll give you a shout out too. Just let me know you passed. All right. When must a Florida notary provide their signature? Is it A, when the signer has not paid the notary fee? The signer has not paid. Is it B, when the notarial act is completed? Or is it C, only on legal documents? That question again, when must a Florida notary provide their signature? The best answer was B, when the notarial act is completed, that's when you're signing that it was completed. All right. 20. Woo, almost there. How should a Florida notary respond if they are asked to notarize a document containing blank spaces? Got a document? It's got a bunch of blank spaces. What are you supposed to do? Do you A, notarize the document if the blanks will be filled in before the execution? Refuse to notarize the document until the blanks are filled? Or C, notarize the document only if the signer fills in the blanks during the notarial act? In Florida, the best answer is refuse to notarize the document until the blanks are filled. So as a notary, they may come, they give you the documents, so you got the documents from the loan signing company or from the loan company or whatever, but maybe they just didn't fill in their name or whatever. You can't do anything until those blanks are filled, okay? Then you can do your process. 21, a notary public in Florida is authorized to perform which of the following? Here's a good one. You're authorized to perform which of the following? A, perform weddings. B, draft legal documents. C, administer oaths. I think you know this one. That's right. Is C, administer oaths. What must a Florida notary do if they move to a different address? 22. What must a Florida notary do if you move to a different address? What are you going to do? A, notify the Department of State within 10 days. B, notify the Department of State only if they change their name. Or C, no notification is required. The answer is A, notify the Department of State within 10 days. That's a quick one. Within 10 days. The one about the felony said you had to notify them within 30 days. Okay, so remember the difference. If you move, even in California, if I move, I have to notify who? The Department of State. 23. What is a notary public's responsibility when taking an acknowledgement? I have other videos explaining the difference between an acknowledgement and everything else. Okay. What is the responsibility when taking an acknowledgement? A, to verify the document's legality. Or B, to confirm that the signer understands the document and is voluntarily signing it. Or C, to read the entire document to the signer. The best answer is B, to confirm that the signer understands the document and is voluntarily signing it. You don't have to understand it, but they have to understand it, and they have to be voluntarily signing it. Remember that, because it can't be under duress. Remember those things. Countdown, 6 left. Did you stand up to the challenge? Are you still here? Are you here? If you're still here on number 24, comment. If you're still here on number 24, comment. 24. Can a Florida notary public perform a notarial act outside Florida? Can a Florida notary perform a notarial act outside Florida? A, yes. The notary license, yes, if the notary is licensed in another state. B, no, the notary can only perform acts in Florida. A notary can only perform acts within Florida. Or C, Yes, but for federal government documents. The best answer, and this was a tricky one, the best answer was B. No, a notary can only perform acts within Florida because the question said, can a Florida notary perform notarial acts outside Florida? So what the question is telling you, you are a Florida notary. Can you do stuff in other states? The answer is no, you can't. Now, if the question said a notary who is licensed in several states, so that's how they trick you. Some answers look good, but they want the best answer. 25. What should a Florida notary do if a signer does not speak English? What should you do if you're a notary, but your signer does not speak English? A, notarize the document anyway. B, provide translation services. C, use a reliable interpreter to communicate the document's contents. The best answer, C, use a reliable interpreter to communicate the document's contents. 26. How can a Florida notary handle an incapacitated signer? How are you going to handle an incapacitated signer? A, proceed with the notarization if the signer can communicate their intentions. B, never notarize any document for an incapacitated person. That means drunk, high, whatever. C, notarize the document only if a family member is present. If you haven't studied, this will be tricky because if a family member is present, that might be good enough, right? I don't know. Let's see. The answer is only proceed with a notarization if the signer can communicate their intentions? No, it's B. Never notarize any document for an incapacitated person. If they're incapacitated, you can't do it. It'll come back to bite you. 27. Which of the following is an example of a Florida notary performing a jurat? A, witnessing a signature on a contract. B, administering an oath to a signer of an affidavit, performing a jurat, remember. C, verifying a document's authenticity. The answer is, for a jurat, it's B, administering an oath to a signer of an affidavit. Administering an oath to a signer of an affidavit when you're performing a jurat. 2 left. We're on 28. Comment if you're still here on number 28. Shout out to you who made it this far in the challenge. 28. What should a Florida notary do if they are unsure whether they should perform a notarial act? What should you do if you're unsure you should perform this notarial act? A, always perform the act to avoid conflict. B, seek legal advice or guidance from the Department of State. C, avoid performing any acts until certain. The best answer is B, seek legal advice or guidance from the Department of State. Now, they do have a hotline. If you're doing it within work hours, you can call. Now, most people I know, they're part of the NNA, which is the National Notary Association. You call their hotline and they will tell you which direction to go because you're a member. That's your best course of action. But for test purposes, legal advice from the Department of State. All right. 29. Shout out to people who made it to 29. Which of the following is an essential element of a notarial certificate in Florida? A notarial certificate in Florida. A, the type of document being notarized. B, the signer's acknowledgement of their identity and signature. C, the notary's personal opinion on the document's legality. Which of the following is an essential element of a notarial certificate in Florida? And the answer was B, the signer's acknowledgement of their identity and signature. Remember, the signer you have to make sure the signer is who they say they are to the best of your ability. That's what your job is, right? 30, last one. Shout out to you if you made it to 30. You're a rock star. Hopefully you got them all right, or at least close. If you haven't, just play it again. Let it sink in. Play it before you go to bed. Let it sink in. Last one. What is required for a notary to properly witness a document in Florida? What is required? Let me get my sheet before I tell you this, because I got to do some shout outs. All right. What is required? A, the signer must be physically present at the time of the notarization. What is required? B, the document must be notarized by a lawyer first. What is required? C, the notary must receive an email from the signer. And if you got this one, props to you. A, the signer must be physically present at the time of the notarization. So I know there are some states and areas that have online notarization, but in this case, for test purposes, the signer must be physically present, okay? So what was your score? Let me know your score. Let me know your score. Put it in there. Shout out to you. Now, big ups again to Teresa Santiago for asking me to make a special one just for Florida. Big ups to Anonymous, who says they're texting today. A shout out to John Michael Reyes, who took the test 3 days ago. And what about Miss Amaris in NYC? She thanked me because she passed on the first try. Listen to this, 100%. From Miss Spirituality. Miss Spiritual VZ O's 6Z 3022 got 100%. You killed it. Listening over and over, repetition. Lastly, Miss Revolutionary Automatic says she took her test 10 days ago. God bless. God bless all of you guys. I know you can pass this test if you don't do it on the first try. If you failed before, I hope I make you get across the finish line. Look at the links. We got another challenge for you. See you later. Oh, don't forget, buy me a cup of coffee.